Hello and welcome to the Three Moons podcast. I'm Gavin.
I'm Audrey.
I'm Jordan.
And I'm Annie.
This is our special guest. We done got ourselves a guest.
We told you it was happening.
It's happening. We did it. Why would we lie to you? All five of you, and that's generous that are listening and or watching.
High five.
Yeah. So we got into it. Let's get into it. We've got a really cool topic that hopefully will. Honestly, we're just gonna scratch the surface on it of this particular topic. I'm not gonna give away.
It'll probably be multiple episodes at some point.
I would hope so. Just stretch that bad boy out. But we're gonna try and keep with our opening segment, as it were, and we're gonna do what's that signal chain? And I'm pretty sure I've called it a different name each time.
Okay,
so
keep you on your toes.
Yeah, it's like something. It's what the hell are they docking into? So Audrey, what's your signal chain?
Wow, on the spot right there.
Yes.
We are all or am I speaking for everybody or just myself?
Honestly, today you could speak for everyone.
Okay, we are all talking into the lovely Sennheiser 421s. Ooh.
If you're not watching,
yeah, we're all
We're Vanna Whiting right now.
Oh, it's Vanna White. I said Vera.
Vera White.
Vera Project plug.
Yeah.
Sponsor us.
Shout out Vera Wang. Oh, no.
Too many. No.
Anyway.
Okay, anyway, we're all talking into 421s, and we're all running through the Duality SE preamps.
Yeah. Which is pretty awesome, because we are at Robert Lang Studios again.
In Shoreline, Washington.
Yeah, sunny some days, Shoreline, Washington. And we're talking on the that fancy Duality board.
Hey, cool side note. Today and like this weekend is the 25th anniversary of the last Nirvana session, which happened here at Robert Lang Studios.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's really cool and also kind of
sad. You might have heard the song, You Know You're Right.
Spooky.
That was the single that they eventually released many years after Kurt Cobain died. I don't know if that was an anniversary year when they released it either. I was still in high school when they released it.
I was like in elementary school.
I wonder if Dubby's going to be doing any weird things this weekend.
He better.
Dubby's probably like, ooh, this is my time to shine.
Dubby just gets those confetti things and is like popping them everywhere in the studio.
We gotta tell them who Dubby is. Who wants to explain?
Dubby's a dead guy.
Dubby is a dead guy. He is. That sounds so.
He's a ghost.
He is a ghost of Bob's friend who helped him break ground on this place. There's a couple of different rumors about it. There are rumors that he hid like $100,000 underneath the granite floors before they
We've
laid
looked
down.
everywhere, guys. We don't know.
Nobody's torn it up.
If you find it, let us know.
Let us know. We could all use it.
There's a geocache location. It's just really hard to find.
But yeah, he's a real person who died just mysteriously under crazy circumstances, I guess, 5 years into them building this place.
Yeah.
And he's haunted, or he's been present here ever since.
He's not super malicious.
He just likes the flashlight. You are.
He can be
You
moody.
are, yeah.
If you come in with the bad vibe, Dubby.
He's like, nope.
He's like the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like
Of
the
the
genie,
vibes.
but
Yeah.
The vibe
Tougher.
keeper.
Yeah. I do have a Dubby
vibe
story.
keeper.
You have a Dubby story?
I have a Dubby story.
Okay.
So as you know, there's a an audio engineering program here, which 3 out of 4 of us are part of, and the other one's a teacher here. So one of the days we're getting the downstairs room set up, the SSL 4000, and go to flip a switch for the plasma meters, and just one of them, it was channel 23 or something, which happened to be right by my ear. As soon as I flipped the switch, just fizzled and sparked and started to burn.
That was scary.
That was scary. That freaked the crap out of me.
I could smell it. It smelled like finger
My
paints.
Dubby experiences have always been very lighthearted. Dubby just being happy.
I think
about
Dubby
what's
likes you
happening.
then. That's just what that means.
Yeah, it's always been we've had a metal session where this guy came in already knowing about Dubby and was super curious about it and was asking me all about it. Because there's articles, Bob's done interviews about it.
Yeah.
But Dubby?
Yeah, he's mentioned. Dubby is a part of this place.
Dubby's
for
favorite.
sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But anyway, he came in already knowing about Dubby and asking me all these questions. And he was the drummer. Every single time he would come into the control room to listen back to his take, the blue lights in the ISO booth next to the control room would flicker.
Nice.
But only when he would come in. And it was very interesting.
I always see the one, I think it might just be wiring, but the one above the doorway, right next to the piano, that one always flickers every time.
I've never seen that one flicker.
Really?
That's Dubby.
Oh my God, Dubby loves me.
Hi, Debbie.
I also
Hey,
make
Dub.
sure I'm
Dubby.
super superstitious, but I always say hi to Dubby whenever I come into the studio because I'm paranoid that if I get on his bad side, then everything will fall
It's gonna
apart.
go- yeah.
I always
no,
tap
it-
the-
it-
Because I've
Chandelier
seen
and
it
go, "What's up,
happen
Dub?"
so many times where somebody comes in with like a bad vibe and then
Right.
everything just falls apart, and then the next day everything works fine.
Yeah, like you don't pray to God, you pray to Dubby.
Yeah.
I always check my attitude when I come here. It's just kind of like there's no need to be flustered or negative or grumpy. We're
Yeah.
doing something really
I always
fun.
just say a quick, "Hey, Dubby, good
Yep.
morning."
yeah. If you know there's a
And then I
ghost,
say
always say
bye.
hi to the ghost.
Yeah,
Right.
I've heard also about a little girl ghost in this place, but I've never
Yeah, with the
seen
doll.
her
Nope.
or
I
experienced
got
her.
rid of the doll.
This is the first I'm hearing.
You got rid of the doll?
Well, I didn't get. Oh no, we just moved it. We just
we
moved
moved
it.
it.
Oh, okay.
We just moved it. Oh God, because I wanted to see if it'd move back.
Well, that was scary, and I don't know how it got up
For
there,
a
to be
second, I thought that I
honest.
told someone to throw it away, and then I think I did it as a joke.
Yeah, I guess she shows up around like the magic hour, like 3 a.m.
Oh my
and
God,
you'll like
awesome.
hear her, and like multiple people have seen her.
I'm gonna cry. Oh my
She's
God, that scares
friendly.
the fuck out of
She's
me.
not like a bad.
Yeah,
like,
but
she
like
just
kind of
like
me out.
and like shows
I would
up.
still cry. I'd be like, wow, a dead
Why?
person just laughed at me.
I would just like to say this podcast is not about ghosts.
Yeah,
It is
It's
now.
not. Yeah.
We're gonna get back on track.
Back
now.
on track. And
Three
but ghosts,
Booze
you know,
audio.
that's always a really fun topic.
We'll have a different podcast about ghosts.
Yeah. Our topic is actually kind of heavy. Our topic is about that dang patriarchy and how yeah. There's two women. You identify as women, correct?
Yes.
Cool.
I do.
And
won't speak for you.
and unfortunately in the world, I mean, this is an all over the world and in every aspect problem where it's just always male dominated. It's very, chauvinistic and women, it's just a struggle in general for women to get ahead. There's plenty of stuff on there. We know about the world of audio engineering, so that's what we're going to talk about is the struggle that women have in this industry. And that's why we also brought Annie in. Annie is a pretty awesome feminist. I would venture to say that we're all feminists here.
Yes.
Um,
so if
Sadly,
you're
we
not,
have-
you've got the wrong idea about
Right.
what feminism is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah. And so we wanted to get Annie in. We want to get another voice in on
I will
this.
say though that this is still going to be pretty closed off because we are both white women. in
Yeah.
music.
Yes, yeah, and we're two very privileged white men. We're checking our privilege now. We're
And
checking
again,
our
this will be
status.
probably multiple podcasts.
Yes.
And
Yeah. And we
Right.
we really want to interact with people, any persons of color, backgrounds, orientations, like, hopefully,
Hit us up.
yeah.
yes,
wanna-
please do.
Yeah, hopefully this opens up so we can, talk and network in some way or another, and get more voices heard, talk about the struggle, talk about things that we can do to improve stuff, and learn from each other. So with that being said, and so we're good hosts, Annie, would you like to tell us about yourself? Who are you? What do you do?
I'm Annie.
Yeah.
I sing and write songs, so I'm a musician as well, and I'm also a student at Robert Lang here in Shoreline, Washington, studying audio engineering under the lovely Audrey here.
Yay.
I moved here about a year ago, so it's even just being in a city from like a small town is a very big difference in how like you're treated by people.
What small town?
A very tiny town called Colfax, Washington, over on the other side of the state,
Washington.
which is just
Washington.
like barely almost Idaho, like near WSU, which says a lot. Definitely, it's just really strange to like be over here and like all of the differences that you notice, like just in general with all the people that you meet, rather than specifically men or anything, but. There are definite similarities in like people that I've worked with in the past on the other side of the state, and then also people I've worked with over here. So I've definitely noticed some, like, what are they called? similarities, but not
There we go.
similarities. It's not similarities. It's like they match. I can't think of the word.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, I come from a kind of different perspective because I come from Portland, which is pretty
Portland.
hip and fresh.
I'm Audrey.
You're Audrey from Portland.
I'm Audrey from Portland. So it's pretty, I don't know. People have their own perspectives around Portland. Portland itself likes to think that it's really progressive. I disagree.
Hot take.
Hot take.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Told you it was going to come.
Calling you out, Portland.
Would never have guessed you're from Portland.
Especially if we are talking about people of color and like that sort of thing. Like if you branch into that whole section of Portland, it is so messed up. But I think like feminism in Portland is something that they take like really a lot of pride around. But I think that it's also kind of one of those weird things where feminism in Portland has become instead this whole like idea of like women are better instead of women are equal.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of created this own inner war with itself where feminism has become like, it's like you've got the right side of feminism and then the wrong side of feminism, and they're kind of like at war with each other in Portland right now.
Interesting.
Wow.
Right. And the one that's the wrong side is the one that people look at when they see feminism and think what
Exactly.
feminism is. And then it fucks over everyone who's on like the actual side of feminism, which is real feminism.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I come from Portland where feminism is totally prominent, but it's got really weird issues in itself. So coming to Seattle, it's been very different.
Yeah.
And the music scene, especially in Seattle, is very different when it comes to that.
Yeah.
How is it different?
How is it different? Mostly that reason is that when you meet like, I think like true feminists here, like they are on that page of like, we are all equal. It's all equality across like all people of color, all gender orientations, all just everything.
It should be.
Which is what it is, and that's
Yeah.
the definition of feminism. But in Portland, it's very much this bubbled feminism of like women just wanting to like rise to power, which is so not a bad thing.
Right.
But it's just not what the goal of feminism is.
Yeah. It's not that like women shouldn't have to push men down in order to be
Exactly.
in a level that's equal to them or like on a level that they've been on before. It's like you should be able to both climb both sides of the ladder to get to the top at the same time.
And we should both have the same goals and the
Yeah.
same outcomes of those goals. And that's kind of the whole idea there.
Do you think that has something to do with like trying to make up, like I'll say like make up for time?
Oh, for sure.
like
Yeah.
people being oppressed. It's like, well, we've been oppressed for this for
They're
so
trying
long.
to overcompensate.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, overcompensate.
Yeah, for sure.
So now we get militant, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people are just so tired of being like shut down and quiet that now they're just like, I'm just going to spit out everything that I think and all of my opinions
Right.
and just get it out there.
And then, I mean, a lot of it comes from people who have very limited experiences. And obviously things, when you have bad experiences with things like that, it does kind of shape your worldview and your view of people in general. Because you're like, well, every single time I've tried to be successful at this thing, I've been screwed over. And now I'm seeing everyone else experience similar things. That just must be the way things are. And not
you
just
get
be my
super
limited
defensive.
experience.
Too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people they build up these walls and they're like, well, I've seen it happen before and it's going to happen again. I mean, I had to get over that with like things for sure. Especially in this industry, just things where like one time, you know, something will go wrong and, you know, I'll just think, oh, that's how it's going to be
Right.
for the rest of my time. I'm just going to get treated like this for
Right.
the rest of my life.
And it's like a struggle too, because when you're like the one of very few or like the only girl in a place, you're like, I don't know if I should speak up and call this out now because it will make things worse. Like it might
'Cause it
make
could
things be
ultimately
like,
hurt
oh,
me.
you're one of those.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh my
I mean,
gosh,
just,
yeah, that's the
I mean,
big one.
and just look at the ratio of people in like the Robert Lang Academy program. There's you, Cammie, Joy, 3 women, and 7 dudes.
Like I remember, you guys might remember, I don't know if you were both in class that day. It was on a Wednesday class with Chris. I remember Joy made a joke about there being, like she saw this thing and it was the book about how to understand women. And then the book about understanding men.
Yeah.
And I like looked at Cammie and we're just like, but everyone else laughed because they were all guys.
yeah.
So it made sense to them. And I'm just sitting here like, this doesn't help. Like, and that's the thing too, is like women are sexist against themselves as well because it's so ingrained that it like
Yeah.
we
And to feel
push
like
ourselves
to fit in,
down.
to feel like to fit in, you feel like you have to kind of put all of those like feminist ideas behind because
Be one of the
again, you'll have
guys.
that person who's just like, oh, you're a feminist.
right, and it's like,
you're like, no,
why
I just
should
wanna
you
be-
feel
But
bad
then
about
like
it?
I'm
Equal.
that
Yeah.
and I'm that person who's just like, what women shouldn't be a feminist? Like we
Right.
should be. Like
if you aren't,
like,
then
why
I
is that-
genuinely question
Like,
like
why
the
would
way
you-
that you're thinking.
Right.
about
yeah, why would
things.
you not want your like why would you not want to succeed and have
Right.
yourself and everybody around you
Yeah.
succeed? Like
Mhm.
I just think it's so funny when people are like, "Oh, you're a feminist." And I'm like, "Yeah, like why wouldn't I be?"
I think
Yeah.
it's, just,
Like-
it's just what you were saying. People just have the wrong idea of it.
Mhm.
I think that's
Well,
honestly
and I
what it
think
is.
part of it is the name of it being feminism implies, I think, that
And it
it's
sounds very like women
only kind of
yeah,
thing.
but it's really become this whole movement
Mhm.
surrounding all genders,
Right.
all races, all
Yeah.
sexual orientations, and it's just become this general word. I think you're right. I think we need a new word for it,
Right.
honestly, because I think that it's just like Sound Girls recently just had to change their name because they were getting a lot of people who were offended by the fact that their name included girls, even though that
What?
they're specifically supposed
Men
to
were
be supporting.
excluded, so it's a problem.
Yeah.
That when women are excluded, it's
It's
a
fine.
non-issue.
It's like,
Yeah.
oh, you should be
There
used
has
to it
to
by
be
now.
a penis, guys.
There
Yeah.
does.
So
There
Sound
literally
Girls-
does.
Sound Girls, which I grew up like super inspired by and has always been my goal to like eventually work with them in some way. They're now having to change their name.
Wow.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah.
That's kind of sad.
Yeah. It's wild. Like, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, sorry to cut you off.
Hey, man.
And I think the thing that's really brought out, like you have, the other kind of buzzword is the whole toxic masculinity thing, and people just getting men getting so used to having their way and be like, well, this is how we always do it, and in any field,
Right.
and you have with that toxic masculinity and that toxic mindset, you oppress and then it's like if someone's like, no, you're no better than me because you have a penis, or because you're white, toxic
Right.
racism, toxic whiteness,
White privilege.
white privilege, yeah. And then you immediately get branded as, oh, you're a militant feminist, you're a radical, you're a Black Panther.
It's
or something
crazy
like that,
those
because
words too, radical, militant, like to
So
like
aggressive.
enemize
yes,
us for
yeah.
existing.
Yeah, and it's
For
like,
caring about ourselves. Like having respect for
It's
yourself
so
makes you an
weird.
enemy.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really like
That's
what
so
it
true.
is just like having respect for yourself, and people have just such this huge
Like
freak
all
out
it is
over
is, hey, if you respect me, I'll respect you. Or
Seriously.
like,
It's
here, why
literally
don't I
like-
just respect
it's
you?
literally just like, hey, how you feel about yourself, I want to feel about myself.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to achieve the same things that you can achieve.
Right.
Because I feel the same, like, yeah, it's,
Mhm.
but it's such a big deal.
It's such a
Right.
big deal.
It's weird.
So weird.
I think too, it's like some people think like you're attacking them, like you have it so easy, you have nothing wrong in your life, like everything's perfect, and they look and they're like, well, my sister just had breast cancer and my dad just died. Like, who are you to tell me my life's
Exactly.
easy? So I
Right.
think that's where it's coming from.
Mhm.
But I totally, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not saying that you can't have bad experiences just because you're in a position of power. Like you can,
Yeah.
position of power is very obviously a vague kind of thing, but men in general already have a one up on women in basically everything that they can do and like are allowed to be able to do.
absolutely.
And so it's like, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
It's
What was I
okay.
saying?
That happens to us all the time.
Wow, that was the wildest thing. Man, I was on like a run there too.
So passionate.
It was great.
Balls.
We'll get back to
Well,
it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then if someone has power, like they're not going to let go of that willingly.
Yeah.
Right.
Cases it's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm comfortable. I don't want to stop making me uncomfortable. You crazy.
Well, because I think that there's also that natural like feeling of competitiveness where they're like, oh, if you want the same thing as me, then that means that you're gonna take that thing from me.
Right.
Yeah.
Which it shouldn't be that way. It's
Yeah.
not like
Like we can both be CEOs of companies.
right.
Like it's not gonna like totally
Right.
ruin you to have like this similar company to you be run by a female.
Uh-huh. And the
while you-
strange thing is that now it's like devolved into this thing where females fight females. So
Oh
it's
my
like
God, yeah.
other women having success makes you angry and like envious
Well,
and
and
makes
that's
you
that
you'd
whole
rather
thing that I
tear
was
down
talking
another
about.
woman
Yeah.
than a
Yeah.
man. Like so much easier.
And that's what I was talking about in Portland, where it is this like war in feminism, where it is like women are like tearing each other down
Mhm.
because they think that they're more right.
Yeah.
it's just this huge war about who's right and who's wrong. And it's
Nobody's right.
everybody's wrong. Everybody's wrong. That's
Right.
it.
Move along.
Yeah.
So, we've kind of been speaking pretty broadly in just because time constraints and attention spans and stuff. And so we could go, and
we
again,
could talk about feminism
forever,
hours.
and I think we should,
Totally.
until, and here's my radical thought. It would be cool if feminism didn't have to be a thing.
Right. I was
Right.
thinking about
Like-
that the other day. It's like, I
It's
can't believe
like,
this even
oh, you're
exists.
a feminist. No, I'm a human. Like,
human
Yeah,
being.
like I'm
Yeah.
just
Wild.
I'm just as messed up as you, man. So
But even saying that to people, like, that doesn't really matter.
But then
Like,
people get offended and they're like, wait, so you're not a feminist? It's just like
It never ends.
But then it's like if I say that I am, then you're like, you're a feminist.
You're a feminist?
I am, but
You're
I'm not,
screwed
but I
either
am.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because you're a woman and you have an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically. It's, oh god.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So how bad is it? Do you guys have like any stories that you might be able to share, anecdotes of any?
Give us
'cause
the
I-
tea.
In general,
The tea. I would say, like in music in the studio, my biggest complaint, and I've even started my joke. It's a joke, but it's serious. I've started wearing a name necklace, like it says my name, because of the amount of times. I would say at least one person on every session refuses to, or doesn't refuse, but just doesn't learn my name and instead calls me babe, darling. I've gotten love.
Yeah.
And so I've literally started to wear this necklace every single time I have a session just so that there's no excuse for them to not know my name. And then when they don't refer to me as my name, I can be like, I'm not babe. I'm not darling. I'm not love.
Have
I
a
got
name.
love. And that was like,
How do you correct someone without like 'cause-
sounding like an asshole.
right? Yeah, because it's
Well,
like,
that's the problem is
gotta
that you're like,
oh man,
we're
you're
in
a
this
client.
weird time, where it's like, I think most of the time, to be honest, I let them do it because I don't know what to say without making it super awkward. And if anybody
Right.
knows how to address that and not make it super awkward, I would
All of it.
absolutely love to know.
maybe you could, like, in talking to someone else while they're there, say your name or like refer to yourself. Do you know what I mean? That way,
Jordan would
And then
like
be
to
like-
inform you. Like talking third person.
Or, like, you know, it should
refer to
really be a
yourself as the
thing.
Audrey.
like, I feel like men should be policing other men on
Yeah.
how
I do
Yes.
too, yeah.
to act.
Yeah,
Like, it shouldn't be my job
Gillette
to teach you
commercial.
how to
I was
respect
just
a
gonna
person.
say. I was like, isn't that the commercial? Anyway, sorry.
Isn't it though? Like,
Yeah.
isn't it wild how much that blew up?
Yeah,
Like,
it
and in a
is.
bad way? Like,
yeah, it got
yeah.
so much backlash.
I saw that and I was like, wow, great. Like,
Yeah,
this is a
showing,
message that
like-
should be pushed. And I was talking
Exactly.
to someone else the other day here, and they were like, well, I just don't think it's, like, very true. Like, Gillette has their own issues they should be dealing with, like, in their own company. Like,
think
they're
it's
not the best
100%.
thing
They're-
ever. And
they're
I'm like,
trying to, yeah.
But that's the whole point is that like you can rebrand, you can try to change
fix it.
people's exactly. Like we live in such a time that is constantly progressing and like changing. Like, you know, before the 90s feminism was very very hush hush. Like we've grown so much that it's like of course people are going to have made mistakes, especially companies are going
Right.
to have made mistakes and they should be given the chance to correct them.
right.
And,
It becomes problematic. So I feel like you make a mistake. Just because you made a mistake doesn't mean you as a person are problematic. I think once you make a mistake and then don't recognize that it was a mistake and continue to do the same kind of stuff, that's
Exactly.
when you
Right.
become problematic.
Yeah.
Whereas like everyone nowadays is like really quick to call anything and anyone super problematic because of one thing that went wrong.
everybody wants to just
I did have, and my wife and I talked about this because I saw that and I said, man, the only problem I have with that is like if people are trying to, it's the whole white knight thing,
Right.
you know, where it's like, oh, if someone intervenes, like obviously if you see like a sexual assault happening or something like that, I hope someone would intervene, you know.
Right.
it's so sad though how many people don't.
Yeah, or even just like unwanted catcalling or flirting, and it's like, and
Right.
and I just feel, and I don't think that there's a correct answer or correct way to do it. You just have to kind of check yourself and be like, I'm doing this to intervene because this person is an innocent, you know, bystander, and this other person is a complete scumbag.
Right.
I'm not doing it to win favor with the innocent person. I'm doing it to deter the scumbag.
Right.
So it's like, you know, I guess, and really men especially, is we kind of have to check ourselves and just make sure that if we do need to intervene and police another man or another person, that we're going in the right way.
With the right perspective.
It's like I'm not trying to be a hero, in this person's eyes. I'm doing it,
because it's the right thing.
It's the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah. And it sucks because if anybody does, if someone does the right thing, it's like, all right, but what are they really trying to do?
Right. Well,
Yeah.
and even like as a woman, even then it's like this person was nice to me, but like literally it's hard to be nice to people because you're like, I don't know if me being nice to this person is them taking it the wrong way or not.
Yeah.
And my struggle too is like as a woman trying to stand up for other women, it's really scary because it puts yourself also in that harm's way.
Yeah, it puts you, if anything, in more of harm's way to be treated
because you're
less.
standing up.
Like,
yeah.
Because it's like, oh, she's just that angry woman over there who's always angry about everything. And where I'm from, that kind of just became who I was. Like in high school, they were just like, oh.
Oh, I was so angry.
Yeah, I was pissed.
I was just on the defense all the time because I was just so fed up with everybody and all the guys that I went to high school with.
Right.
Like
I remember calling a guy out in my class once because we were reading a book about like guys in war, and like they'd come back, and then the main character was like mad that his this girl that wasn't his girlfriend but was like they had a thing wouldn't have sex with him when he came back, and then the guy, one of my classmates, was like, oh, he was in war, why wouldn't you just do it? And I was like, what? Don't, like, are you kidding me?
What?
Like, stop.
Yeah.
And he was like, she like owes him like her freedom, and I was like, you can stop right now, like this is not okay. Like called him out in the middle of class, and then he was just like, all right.
And then
like,
everybody talks about it, and then they're like, Annie got all pissy during.
Yeah, then
and
it
then
becomes
you got
my
pissy.
fault.
Then you're
I'm the problem, not him and the shit that he was saying.
It's
like,
so hard. I mean, like, and I've like another story, I guess, would be like, I once had Quick Punch mansplained to me while I was using it.
I remember that. Oh my
tell
god.
That story. Tell the story. This is a
great
perfect
story.
example.
This is a perfect example that wouldn't have happened if my assistant engineer had been running Pro Tools at the time. I know for a fact that this would not have come up. But because I was running Pro Tools, we were doing overdubs. Their producer, who had his own problems and was like not doing a great job and would come for like 1 hour out of the 12-hour day and sit in the back and then like at the very end be like, okay, so this is everything that you guys did wrong today and you need to fix tomorrow. And I'd be like, well, if you were here all day, we probably would have
avoided all of that.
But anyway, so we're doing overdubs and I'm obviously using Quick Punch to do these overdubs. And he comes up over to the side of me and he's like watching me very closely. And then he like comes up and like kneels down next to me and like puts on his glasses and he's like, do you know about Quick Punch? And I was so like shocked and like, is he kidding? Like, because I'm literally using it right now. Like I didn't know what was going on. So I was just like, yeah, I know about Quick Punch. And he was like, okay, so what you're gonna want to do? And he like told me how to turn on Quick Punch. But let me just say that he didn't tell me how to turn it on in the fast, easy way. He told me like the like slow, like first you're gonna go to options. And I was like, okay. So I go to options and then he's like, okay, and then you're gonna scroll down until you see Quick Punch. And I was like, okay. And so I like scrolled down until we got to Quick Punch and he saw that it was enabled and he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, yeah, how do you think we've been doing these overdubs for the last hour? Like,
it just sucks because he didn't hear you say, I'm using Quick Punch. And that should have been the end of the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
And
well, and
like,
all I wanted to do was look at him and be like, I teach Pro Tools here. And like, we were talking about that earlier today. Like,
yeah.
Like, I know what Quick Punch is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like your story. Oh, sorry. About when you went to get the microphone.
Oh my God, yeah. And then I went to a local music shop.
Yeah.
This is just all of my grievances. Yeah. The worst one is yet to come. Although that one, I don't know. It's a very short story. It's one sentence long, but it was awful. But I went to a local music shop. I won't name who they are. But I went in there and I had been working at the studio for at least a year. And I was like, okay, like I need a condenser microphone for home use because I needed a condenser microphone. So I go to this shop and I'm like, cool, I'll buy one used. That way I can get like a better quality one. And so I go in and all I ask is like, hey, where do you guys keep your microphones? And they're like, and they point over to me, or they point me in the direction. They're like, what are you looking for? And I was like, oh, I'm looking for a condenser. And then they spend the next like 20 minutes mansplaining to me what a condenser microphone is, even though I came in specifically asking for it. And I was like, that's a little weird. And then I haven't gone back there since because I'm just like, I don't need to be talked down to about what a condenser microphone is when I know exactly what I'm looking for.
Right.
And I've already been on your website and I know what you have.
Well, it's like literally. So I like to, as a joke, like to people, like if they just start talking to me, just be like, "Oh, did I ask?" But the thing is with mansplaining, that's literally the situation. It's
And
like,
it's literally
did I
like,
ask
did I
you
ask
to
you?
explain that to me?
Yeah, I'm literally like, I could have already bought this microphone by now and been
Right.
out of here. And
Like-
you would have gotten your sale. You would have got, and like, instead I'm sitting here being like, yeah, I know what phantom power is.
Right.
Thank you. Like,
Right.
it's an extra, like, do you know what phantom power is? Because you haven't
Right.
actually told me what it is. You've just used the word a lot.
Right. And the problem with mansplaining is it's just that men assume automatically that women cannot nearly have as much.
And they
Like,
describe it to
information
you
about
like you're like a
something as they do.
5-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned real quick that my wife knows way more than I do about stuff. So I just it's very
think
just like, okay,
Okay.
cool, whatever you say, hon.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah,
all right.
Sounds
cool.
good.
Yeah.
But I think for me, my worst experience in the studio was I was sitting, just like I'm sitting right now, and I had a guy fully come up and like slap my thigh and like grip it.
No way.
I would
Oh.
have punched him. Oh my God, no.
Yeah, imagine I was assisting. And so I was like totally not in a place of power whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I was just
Especially
sitting
not
on a
of
stool
that.
in the back. Yeah. And I was just like, and I literally like was shocked. Like I just kind of sat there and I was like, okay.
Wow.
Get your
Who is
hands
your
off me,
lead?
dude. Yeah.
What?
Who is your lead? You don't have to say it.
Yeah, I'll
yeah,
tell you.
We'll talk afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk.
La 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 la.
But yeah, and I was just like I had no idea what to do. It was another situation where I just kind of let it happen because I was just like, I can't just be like, don't touch me. Like that's
Yeah.
like such like a like aggressive thing to just come out of the bat and be like, don't touch me.
Right.
But
Was
it's like
your
that's
lead
all I
engineer
want
a
to say.
male?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
A white male.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who else?
And it
I
was
was
just
Who
just
like,
else
gonna
but a
say,
white
if
male?
I was in a position like that, I would hope that I'd be comfortable enough with the lead engineer that I would be able to tell them and be like, "Will you address
this
this?
happened." Yeah,
because
'cause-
if I address it, nothing's going to happen.
yeah.
Because it wouldn't. Nothing would change.
And that would have been the smart thing to do, but I was
right. But I mean, you're
just
shocked.
starting out.
You're
And I was
yeah.
shocked
That
and I was
happens,
just like,
and literally, it's
and
like
I just
the
got like weirdly groped by this guy that's like the
Right.
lead singer for this band that I'm assisting on. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, what am I supposed to do here?
it's so strange. Things like that happen, and you just like freeze.
You
You're just
literally
like, I
freeze
don't know
and you
what to do.
panic
My
and you're like, what else are they gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
I have no idea. Like that, the idea of something like that happening to me is so far beyond. Like I have no idea. I couldn't say like how I would react. You know, it's
Right.
like, oh, if someone touched me unwantedly.
yeah.
I hope that's the word. I've been making up words since we've been doing this podcast.
It's whatever.
It's the dad thing to do.
The dad thing. It's unwantedly. It's like do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, I couldn't. Like my brain just can't. It's like, well, what would you do, Gavin? And be like, I really don't know.
I mean, yeah, and that's one of
I
those
would freeze.
situations
Yeah.
that I think because I didn't do anything about it, I still think about it like every day.
Oh yeah.
But then
Because
if you
I'm like-
had done
You should've.
something, if something got worse, then you would still think about it.
And then yeah, and then
you'd
that
be like, I
session
wish
would've
I
been-
hadn't.
Because I had like 2 more days of that session. Like it would have just been
Oh, it would've
weird.
been awkward. Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's the same
Yeah.
situation as correcting the whole babe thing where I'm just like, I don't know how to do it in a way where it's not going to ultimately make it awkward.
Or put you in a position where you're not. You saying something about that could have made it so that you wouldn't be an assistant on that engineers.
Well, and to be honest, like my fear with that group of people and knowing their sense of humor and their age range was like, if I did say something about it, it would have ultimately become like the butt of the joke.
Yeah.
And then they would have joked
Yeah.
about it for the next
Yep.
2 days and been like, haha, remember when I touched Audrey and she freaked out?
yeah,
And like,
or like, and then you'd be treated as a joke anytime you interacted with anyone they know either.
Yep.
Because you'd be like, oh,
exactly.
she's
Walk
that
in,
girl.
oh, don't touch Audrey.
Because yeah, they've had multiple.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, and they've come back and I've worked with them again. Like it's just one of those things where you don't want to have
That
that happen.
sucks.
Anything that makes you, because then that puts you in a situation where then you're taken a lot less seriously and you're not respected by the people that you're working for. Which I mean, I didn't feel very respected having
Right.
my leg grabbed, but but
Right.
it would have gotten even worse if I had been like, "Don't
Hey,
touch
don't
me," and then
fucking
they
touch
would have
me,
been
yeah.
like. Okay, here's the aggressive female.
like,
Are you on your
ooh.
period? Like,
Yeah,
sort
that
of
whole
thing
thing
where I
is
just-
also
Oh yeah,
awful
they go,
too.
oh, what are you on your PMSing? Or
Yeah, are you
whatever? Yeah.
PMSing today? No, I just don't feel like being touched by a stranger.
Yeah.
Weird.
Thank you.
Odd concept.
body
that.
is my own,
Super
sir.
weird. Super weird. Me
hate
just
that.
sitting here nonchalantly wasn't asking to be touched.
Right. My experience mostly, I haven't had a ton of experience like by myself in sessions like that, obviously. But my experience has always been kind of a, hi, I have an opinion and I'm going to express it and it's not going to be heard. Like me going, hi, this thing needs to be changed. I noticed this. We should probably do something about it. And then it going in one ear out the other. And as soon as I get a penis to say the same thing,
I was going to say, once a male
Suddenly.
says the same thing.
Exactly.
Oh,
I've had
gotcha.
that problem so many times, and it's the most infuriating thing to like, and that's the worst part is that people who do that where they like ask you and then they ignore what you're saying and then they go and ask someone else, they do it right in front of you. It's not like they like wait and then they go and like confer with somebody else like secretly in the hallway and like, oh, blah,
they're
blah,
not
blah,
like,
said
I
this.
don't believe her.
Yeah, no.
They just
Instead, they
straight
just
up.
fully like they'll ask you the question, they'll give you a blank stare while you answer it,
Look
and then
you
they'll
in the eye, like
yeah, and like completely blank though. You can tell they're not listening, and then they go directly across the room to somebody else, a man, and and ask them the exact same question, and that person will say the exact same answer, and they'll be like, "Oh, okay."
we actually had an experience together of this.
Yes,
We were talking to someone we know who is in a position over us that we would answer to essentially. And he asked us a question, looked at me, asked me the question, ignored what I said, turned to Audrey, asked Audrey the question. Same question. She gave the exact same answer and then ignored her and turned to the only guy in the room, asked him, and he gave a really shitty version of the same answer. But that was what he heard.
Yep.
Like literally bam, bam, bam.
I mean, maybe
Suddenly
he needed the
guys
really
won.
shitty like mansplained
Yeah.
answer of
Maybe.
like,
Dumb it down.
Maybe like
Dumb it
2
down.
words is all he could
like
comprehend.
what's that Michael Scott episode where he's like, okay, can you explain it to me like I'm an 8-year-old?
Now
Okay,
explain it
now
like a
now
five.
explain it like I'm 5. Yeah.
Man.
That's kind of how it feels sometimes in the music industry. Is like you're working with a bunch of Michaels. You're just like, okay,
you're kidding.
like,
I had actually one of my bosses. They were saying, I don't remember how we got into this conversation, but I was basically like, yeah, it's just kind of strange how that you as a guy will never, ever, ever be able to know what it's like to be oppressed the way that women are, or the way that literally anyone else of a minority is in comparison to you. And he was like, well, no, I don't think that's like entirely true. And I was like, what isn't true about it?
yeah, just by
And he was
saying
like,
that you.
well, my ex-wife used the whole Time's Up movement to like make me seem bad. And I was like, you having an argument with your wife is not you being oppressed. You getting fucked over is not you being oppressed. If you're getting fucked over every day, all the time for something you can't control, that's you being oppressed.
I feel like people just don't understand. Like I had a situation even just the other day that I think like no man would ever think about, but I was leaving work and it was super dark out, and right next to my car was a really creepy white van.
Jesus.
And I was like,
my pants.
and I was terrified. I was like, how am I supposed to get in my car? Because if I get in my car, I'd be right sandwiched in between. And my car's really tall, so nobody would be able to see me in between this van. And so I literally went all the way around to my passenger side and crawled through my car. Because I was like, I don't.
That's smart though.
I
would have done the
because I
same
was
thing.
terrified. I was like, like this is
Yeah.
blacked out windows. They're painted over. Like it's super creepy.
And Jordan and I have just been like, that's a creepy van. I'm going to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
you would have just like
yeah.
gotten in your car a little faster, maybe. But
No, like there, like I read stories about how like sex trafficking, they'll like put shit on your car like in front of your windows or like on your wipers so that you have to get out and like take it and
Yeah.
move it so they
Oh,
can
wow.
grab you
Yeah.
while you're doing that.
Yep.
Because otherwise you can't drive away. But what you should do is drive as much as you can away from the situation and then deal with it.
yeah. Or like
And
even
it's
just
like-
the fact like if it's at night or even not at night, if I'm just going through like a kind of sketchier part of town or like whatever, like I'll carry my keys so that they're in between my knuckles.
I carry pepper
Oh.
spray.
See, I need to get pepper spray.
What I
All
found
the
out my
things that
keys.
we-
Yeah. I
like,
never knew
really-
that sex trafficking thing. I don't need to carry keys in my hand.
I carry keys in my hands so that they're like poking out because I read
Yeah.
that in a column that was like
Yeah.
you should
that's-
walk around and that's just sharp enough. But like
Granted,
Yeah,
I
and
read
just have
that
them stick
doing
through.
that, you're actually just more at risk of hurting your own hand than actually doing any damage to the person. Like,
really.
yeah. Granted, it
I
does
no
make
longer
you feel a
feel-
lot safer,
it does
and it
make you
is
feel a
better
lot
than
safer.
just having your fist.
And it kind of makes you
'Cause
look
you
a little
can
bit more
still
threatening
kinda-
because people
yeah.
see the keys.
Yeah.
Like
You can
Like
actually get
Wolverine.
things that go
Yeah.
on the end of your keys, like connect to your key. That it's like a brass knuckles kind of thing,
Yeah.
but they're
Yeah.
not brass knuckles, obviously.
Yeah.
But like an equivalent, my friend has one that her
I
aunt
know.
gave her as a Christmas present because that's what you get for Christmas presents is shit to protect you from men.
that's true. My dad has bought me like multiple things that are like, hey, put this on your keychain, like, and it's so funny. And
Because
it's
you
like,
never know when a
What is
man's
it?
gonna
It's a
just
taser.
be a
It
man.
can take down a rhino.
Whip out
Yeah.
a penis.
You
Great.
know,
Thanks, Dad.
I'm not kidding. I've
Dad.
literally experienced that.
You have?
Yeah, I was driving my friend. My friend was like, "Here, let's go hang out with these friends of mine." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And she drives a minivan, and she was really drunk. I didn't drink, so I was like, I guess I'll drive, right? And she was in the back, really like way drunk, like could not barely form coherent sentences drunk. And the two guys were also really drunk. And one of them like pulled a blanket over them and fucking pulled his dick out. And I was like, I'm driving. And I'm like, something weird's going on back there.
Nope.
Because like
Shut
she
it
was
down.
like, And I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I like turn around and I'm like, I swear to fucking God, if I turn around right now and your dick is out, I'm gonna lose it. And I turn and it's there, and I'm like,
I would have been like, get out of my car.
I did. I stopped. I pulled over right next to their truck. I'm like, get the fuck out of this car. I never ever want to see you again. If you ever try and speak to me again, I'm going to fucking deck you. Like, leave my friend alone.
Yeah.
Like, do not ever speak
But then
to me
again, that's still a situation where they would be like, you're overreacting.
That's what he told me. He was like, don't worry about it. It's not like that. And I was like, how else am I supposed to interpret you having your penis out?
I'm
Like,
protecting my friend who's...
like, get away from me. Get away from her. Like,
She's altered. You're altered. No.
and the whole point of that even meeting is we're supposed to go sledding. Like, now that I'm remembering, we were supposed to go
my
sledding. We
gosh.
never went sledding.
Well, your friend being really
whip it
drunk
out
probably
and ruin
wouldn't have
sledding.
done that either. But I mean, not
Because
that-
they gave her 10 shots in 10 minutes.
Okay, so
That's-
that could lead to alcohol poisoning.
Yeah. That's
And that's like
assault.
not cool
Yeah.
either. That's that's literally something that
Another, whole being a woman, you have to be careful of your drinks. Like,
Yeah.
Oh my
literally
gosh,
everything.
like literally,
That's
like I'll
true.
go to see music, and my friend Kayla, my roommate, she taught me a trick where she was like, yeah, whenever you like leave your table or you have to leave your drink even for a minute, always take your coaster out and put it on top.
Yeah.
Because you'll be able to tell if somebody moved your coaster.
Well, unless they put it back.
Unless they put it back. It's like it's still not even like a surefire way. And then there used
the
to be
thing
those
is, I was told is if you put it down, don't pick it back up.
I mean
Yeah,
that's
that's smart.
like
Or
a
bring your
big-
own drink and make sure that it's something that's not like
Yeah.
you would be able to taste it if something was put in it, or like something that has a cap so that you can close it
Yeah.
and then don't set it down.
Yeah. It's hard though when you're at like a bar seeing music and then your friend smokes and you're like, okay, I'll go stand outside with you.
Right.
And then you're like, wait, but I haven't even like touched this
Yeah,
drink yet and I don't want to like leave it.
Mhm.
But there used to be like cups and straws that would like change color.
Yeah, and
those
there's
were
nail
like
polish.
mainstream for a while. Yeah. And then they went away. But they used to be
Actually,
in like
speaking of these weird preventative things, I actually read about these like yesterday, day before, these like it's like underwear that like has
oh, I know exactly
like
what you're talking
locking mechanisms. So,
So
like
you
you
can
make them
only-
really tight and then they lock, but
Oh,
can
yeah.
only be like unlocked from a certain angle, and they
Yes.
have their own like special
about. And
lock
it's from the
combos
angle of the person who's wearing it. Yeah, I've heard about those.
on the thighs and
But imagine
the,
having to wear them.
yeah,
Yeah,
like
that shouldn't be a thing.
right.
Yeah.
Every
It
time you have
shouldn't
to go
have
to
to be
the
a thing. I
bathroom,
was
you
sitting
have to,
here
like,
like this must be a
unlock.
joke. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
not. But it's like it's just one more step to prevent you from getting sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you can't be, because they can still. It's just like really hard to cut through them.
Yeah.
With anything, and really hard to have them pulled off. But like anything else, it can be removed if someone's really trying that hard.
But they're also like, aren't they like tear proof and like scissor proof?
Yeah.
Or something like.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be.
so the hope is they'll give up before they rape you and then murder you.
Yeah.
Or they
All I
might
think
just
about
murder you
is just
anyway.
get murdered.
Did you ever read The Lovely Bones or see the movie?
I saw the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, because I think
Yeah.
about that. Like that's my worst fear.
That's,
I read the book like 3 times. I cry every time.
Oh, something I was going to mention earlier, because you were talking about how us all being human is the point of feminism. It reminded me of something I read about this girl. She was like in a film class or something, and they watched a movie, and like the main character got like raped by some guy, and then afterward they like discussed it, and they were like, how do you feel about this character and that character? And when it got to the guy who did the rape, the guys like excused it. Like they were like, we don't hate him that much.
Yeah.
And the women were like, what the f- do you mean? Like, literally, what could he do
like
worse
that doesn't
than
make
that
somebody
aside
a
from
villain
murder?
for a lot of men. Like
Yeah,
they
it
don't see
doesn't.
that as like a villainous thing, and it's
Neither
really
does
scary.
abusing women, like just in general. Like that doesn't, like, I was talking to someone that I'm in class with actually before, and we were talking about an artist who is very abusive and was very awful to a lot of people in his
Eminem?
past. No,
Oh, okay.
similar
I just think of
genre, but no, but I mean, definitely you can include him as a very good example. Is like people like after it happens, like when it happens, people are like, "Oh my god, I can't believe you did that," but then afterwards they're like, "But he like apologized and
Well, Chris
hasn't
Brown
done it
just
since.
got a documentary done about him.
Right. And it's like these people are still being given, like, you're still listening to this person's music.
Yeah.
That still gives them income.
Yeah.
You're still allowing this person to have success in comparison to the person that they beat the living shit out of.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, that was bad, but separate the art from the artist, you know?
Yeah.
I hate
No,
that.
that shouldn't. No.
Yeah, I hate the whole separate the art from the artist. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm not going to financially
One and the same.
like
Like
encourage
Picasso
and support.
was an asshole. Like he literally had
Picasso
a quote
was
about
awful.
burning women.
Wow.
Yeah, Picasso
Yeah, I know
was
that.
one of the most misogynistic, like just
You
awful
should
people.
watch. There's a like stand-up comedian. Her name's Hannah Gadsby. She has a special on Netflix. It gets into like that, and
Oh,
like
cool.
she's also lesbian, so it comes from the perspective of being like a lesbian and that kind of
Okay.
oppression as well as being a woman. And it's like she gets into stuff like that where it's like Picasso wasn't a great guy, but how far do they have to go before we can like not separate the artist from the art? Like how excusable is
Yeah.
it?
Right.
Well, yeah, because it's like if I told my mom, because I don't think my mom knows that, but Picasso's like one of my mom's favorite artists, and she's
Mhm.
obsessed with him and goes to all of like his shows whenever they have him at
Right.
the Portland Art Museum.
No, he's a sexist dickbag, mom. Sorry.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't know how to tell her, and I'm like,
Right.
but the other thing is like the whole generational gap where I don't know if she would. I think that she would
Care,
be somebody who would be like, yeah, I can separate his art
Right.
from that
Right.
sort of thing.
And I think it's okay to acknowledge. I feel like if something like that were to come up for me, it's like I can acknowledge that I enjoyed this at one point, but I can no longer look at it the same way.
Exactly.
And I won't
Mm-hmm.
because of these things. Like excusing it for yourself is excusing it for others as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's like that's at what point is it okay to excuse people is like the problem for me, is because men are so much quicker to be able to excuse other men for the shit that they do than like if a woman were to do it,
Yeah.
they wouldn't have a career.
There was a guy named Tim Lambesis. He was a singer for a band called As I Lay Dying.
Didn't he kill his wife?
No, so I have a story. And this, I mean, people that know, they know. As I Lay Dying is a pretty, popular metal band. I really liked the side project he did called Austrian Death Machine. It was like really heavy metal about Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. So when I found out about this, I was like super bummed and really disappointed. Well, and I was like horrified chiefly. But no, he approached a friend at the gym and asked him, hey, do you know anyone? Like, do you know any hitmen? I want to get my wife. I need to kill my wife.
Okay, it is who I'm thinking of. Yeah.
And the dude luckily was like, A, knew something was wrong, B, said yes, and then went to one of his friends who was a sheriff's officer.
Oh, thank God.
And they set up
I was
a
like,
sting.
no.
And the sheriff officer was like, was like, do you need a job done or whatever? And he's like, yeah, how much? When can we meet? And he's like, $5,000 to kill someone.
Wow.
It seems like a bargain.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds pretty
Solid.
cheap.
It was on sale.
And then they met up at a Barnes and Noble, and so he shows up with $5,000 at Barnes and Noble, and all the cops were there, and he gets busted.
Right.
And so he has, and I'm gonna ruffle some feathers. So he pleads his defense was like, his wife, he and his wife were going through this divorce. She was getting custody. He's like, I'm sorry, his band originally was a Christian band. It's like, I stopped being a Christian and I started doing a bunch of steroids, which I totally believe, because he went from like scrawny, pale white dude to just like jacked like The Rock. And, in a very short period of time. And so he's like, I lost my faith and I was on a bunch of steroids and it was like roid rage. That was his defense. And he got sentenced to a really long, I want to say like 10 years or something like that. I don't remember the
No, I
exact.
think it was like 5 years.
5 years, but he got out in like less than 2 or something like
Yeah,
that.
and now they have a new album coming out.
Yeah, and then the band reformed. They're like,
Yeah, the
he
band
learned
was
his
like,
lesson.
we'll stick
Wait,
with you.
what?
Yeah, the band stuck with
I
him,
cannot
and now they
believe
have a new
that,
album
honestly.
coming
Yeah.
out.
But
And
at
they're
the
going
same
to go
time,
on
I can
tour.
because it's like a birds of a feather kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Why would you go see them? Like, why?
I
That's
know,
what
yeah,
I'm
I think
saying.
it was
Because
there
you're
was one of,
separating the artist from the art.
one of the websites,
Because
Metal
he didn't
Sucks.
actually kill her.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything
There was a
wrong.
website, I think it was Metal Sucks. or Lamb Goat. I can't remember. One of them, like a pretty prominent, like decent, like web-based, like, heavy metal media website was just like, this is the last time you're going to hear from it. Like, we don't want to publicize anything about this
Right.
scumbag
Good.
and
Yeah.
these, by association, other scumbags.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like.
And I think that's the best thing that, like, as a society we can do.
Yeah,
Is
and-
just be like,
Not
okay,
give them a
yeah, they're going to
platform.
keep on doing whatever it is that they're going to do. You can't stop them from making music, but, like, we can at least be like, hey, we're not going to support
It's like,
this.
hey,
Yeah.
you guys are pieces of shit. So
Right.
And it's kind of the most powerful thing that you can do is be like, yeah, okay, you can keep on creating. Like, we're obviously not going to stop you from doing that, but, like, we're not going to support it.
Right. I think that's a good way to look at it.
We could keep talking about this
yeah.
for days.
I
There's
will
a
chat
lot of-
about this for
Yeah, me too.
This is going to be the
But
longest
essentially,
podcast we've had.
I think a lot of the fixing it is just men having the courage to police other men as well.
right.
Oh
So
my
that
God, yeah.
women don't have to spend all their time doing it themselves.
Right.
About it,
Because
Could just be
it's
humans.
harder for a woman to police a man than it is for a man to police another man.
Right.
Yeah. And they'll be taken more seriously, sadly.
Yeah,
yeah.
like locker room talk isn't a thing. Like that's
No.
like boys being boys. That's not a
Boys
thing.
being
wait,
boys
what was
is
that Rihanna
such
tweet?
bullshit.
That Rihanna tweet, boys will be boys because they can't be men.
Right.
Oh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks,
go
Rihanna.
Rihanna. Honestly,
Rihanna?
yeah.
So great.
So in an attempt to bring it back, because obviously this is the heaviest podcast we've done, and there's probably been other podcasts that talk about societal problems and sexism and misogyny in much better detail and than we have. I think we have two very great speakers about it because they have to live it every day, and they're both extremely young too, so they have a whole lifetime of this bullshit.
Yeah. Strap in, boys.
Strap on in.
Here we go.
With that being said, though, like who are some beacons that inspire you, creatively, whether it's in the world of audio engineering or in the world
how
of
many
music?
times do I have to mention Sylvia Massey?
Sylvia,
on
good
this
old Sylvia.
Sylvia.
She's the obvious one.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be just in audio engineering. And luckily,
Oh,
like
okay.
Sylvia is just like a great. And I'm not trying to tell you who to. You
No,
should be
no.
inspired by people, but it's like
Here are the women you're allowed to. As a man,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, here are the women
Yes.
you're allowed to like.
Yes.
But you're also saying like artists. and
Thank you.
Stuff like
You
that.
get it. I mean, who knows? It could be your mom for crying out loud.
I mean, my mom is a huge inspiration to me. She owned her
is
own
too.
business
Yeah.
for many,
Fuck
many
yeah.
years.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And so go my mom. Go
Yeah.
Dominique.
Yeah, Dodo.
Yeah.
We've plugged your dad and now your mom.
Yeah.
in the
Oh my God.
podcast,
There you go.
So we're getting the whole
shout out
family.
Audrey's parents.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
actually about to plug another family member, kind of. But
Oh, I know who.
well, recently it's been announced that Bikini Kill is going on a reunion tour. And
Oh.
I don't know if people are in this group aware of the Riot Girl movement and Bikini Kill. But that's my biggest inspiration and why I do what I do and what got me into audio. But the Riot Girl movement and kind of what we were talking about earlier with the like two sides of feminism, the Riot Girl movement started out as like, or didn't start out, but it like slowly in the last like 5 years, people have realized that this movement that happened during the 90s in New York was a little bit focused on like a very specific, like almost white focused feminism. But that's also the same sort of deal of what we were talking about where like they've learned from that mistake and it's
Right.
become so much bigger now. And
right.
now it spans across, I think over 200 countries. There are zines still that get passed around for
That's
the Riot
awesome.
Girl movement. And they've fully, and the people who started at Bikini Kill have fully like made mini statements saying, hey, we realize that like, especially now where we are, this movement was not as progressive as it could have been, and it probably didn't include as many people as it should. But let's make that change now.
Right.
And so they're going on a reunion tour. I think they're only doing like 10 shows, but for me, that's like my biggest inspiration is that entire movement.
Yeah.
Bikini Kill, just women who literally just said like, yeah, okay, I don't know how to play drums, but I'm going to play drums anyway. I don't know how to play bass, but I'm going to play bass anyway. I don't know how to sing, but hey, I can write hella well. Like, I'm just going to get my words
Yeah.
out there. And I think that's like the most powerful, inspiring thing. And I think it's
That's
the,
like real
I think
ass
it's-
punk rock.
and it's
Yeah.
literally what speaks to people because then they can look and be like, hey, I don't know how to play bass either, but you know what? I'm going to play bass because
Right.
they can play bass
Yep.
and they don't know how to play bass. So
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so that's literally the reason why I am where I am is because of the Riot Girl movement and learning about that as a kid.
Right.
So for me, like that's my biggest inspiration.
Oh God.
So
Following
follow
that
that, Annie.
Mine's more like singers who have inspired me, or like just people in general who are in spotlights using their platform to speak up about things I think is very much a thing where it's like, that's a lot to do. Like, that's a lot of responsibility to put on yourself as someone with a platform, especially as a woman, because then it does open you up to a lot of, so like Jamila Jamil always calls out shit like that.
Yep.
Like, I love her for
I do
calling
too.
that kind of shit out because it shouldn't be there. Or like Demi Lovato being so open about like dealing with things like addiction as
And
well
mental
as
health.
Yeah. And it's
so
like that's
important.
stuff that needs to be talked about. And I really admire women like that who are willing to talk about it and make it known and make sure that people are aware that there's ways that they can get help with things so that they don't have to deal with shit by themselves. Like, and it's like there are other women who experience the same things as you that you can relate to. It's like, it's not like your experience is singular, which is, I really admire that in like those women. So
Yeah. I agree.
Nice.
so that's what
Nice.
Those are
Eggs
our
me on.
inspirations.
I hope, and it sucks because you hear just like women competing with women. I just wish that it was the opposite. Like everyone was just uplifting each other. And,
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what I think the tides are starting to turn to.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those things that it's like so ingrained in our society, especially as little girls.
Well, it's so ingrained that few women are going to make it. And so in order to be one of those women who makes it, you have to tear other people down so that you can get up there.
Eliminate the
you're literally
competition.
kicking other people off the
Yeah.
ladder.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh man.
It's ugly.
At least we don't have to deal with that, Jordan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh man.
You have lots of words.
Yeah. Cool.
Well,
That was heavy.
that was a great
That was great.
podcast.
Yeah.
Let's
That
talk about
was-
this.
I feel really
every
good,
week.
honestly.
I know. I feel like I
You
just got
should,
so
yeah.
much out that
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Forget
Even-
all this
even
nerd
though that
shit. Like,
pent-up
let's talk
anger.
about real
Because-
problems. Yeah.
Even though it's only going to be 5 people listening to this.
Yeah.
I would
There's
have loved to
probably
see how
two
this would have
after
turned out
this.
if it was
Yeah.
only guys. Like what this
Yeah.
conversation
Oh
would
my
be.
gosh.
You should do that.
You should totally
You two
do
should
that.
be the same, but you should have 2 guys come in and ask them
And I
what,
will-
and
what
compare.
they've experienced. Yeah.
See what
And I will just sit there and I will be like,
Mhm.
interesting.
Or you should have us in that room, like make it so that we
Yeah.
can't see.
one-way
Yeah.
glass.
Or like they can't see us, but we
Yeah.
can see
Yeah, there's a
them.
headphone mixer in there too.
Yeah,
so you
and we
just,
can
like,
just listen in. Be like,
like,
you just hear a cackle every now and then.
yeah.
Like, sorry.
What?
Yeah, so have
Awesome.
fun editing that.
Crazy.
That.
So should we go into our artist of the week? Or-
I think we were starting to run out of time. Sorry. Well, I mean, sorry, but we should get our plugs out of the way,
Okay.
and yeah.
And then call it, or are we?
well, we got to do artist of the week.
Okay. Yeah.
Annie, we do every week we do an artist of the week. You'll go
Pretty
last so you
straightforward.
can have time to think about it.
Oh.
But yeah.
Am I allowed to like cheat?
Who
If you want,
would like to go? I can go first.
go
gonna
for
be
it.
like a new
Go
artist?
for it.
Okay, so my artist of
No,
the week.
it doesn't.
I don't know if you've noticed the theme, but so far all of my artists of the week have been women. But this is a wonderful, wonderful woman who I grew up really inspired by in Portland in the early 2000s. Her name and her legal name, by the way, is Storm Large, which I just think is like the most badass name to ever exist. But she started music in Portland with a band called Storm Large and the Balls. And they were like a total like a rock heavy metal like sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then she went on this show that I don't know if anybody watched, but it was kind of like American Idol, but for like rock, and it was called Rockstar Supernova.
What the heck? Sorry.
And it was such a big deal in Portland because she like made it to the final 3 of the show, and it
good
was
for
like
her.
this huge deal.
Was that the Tommy Lee thing?
Yes, Tommy
Okay,
Lee. Yeah, and
yeah.
Dave Navarro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, right. And so she was on it, and she made it to the top 3, and she killed it. And I was like 9 when this was happening. And she, anyway, she's totally cool. She now has done a one-woman show, Cabaret,
Wow.
that was amazing and about her life. She has her own memoir out. That's one of my favorite books, about her struggles with addiction and her mom being institutionalized when she was a kid, and like just all this stuff. And about everything that she's worked through in the San Francisco music scene, the Portland music scene, like just everything. And it's really, really inspiring. And she's just super badass. She's toured with Pink Martini when China took a couple years off. And so she has this whole range from doing cabaret to pink martini jazz stuff to doing like total rock metal stuff. And she's just incredible. Storm Large.
Awesome.
Wow.
All right.
That's my artist of the week.
I'll make it mine short. Esperanza Spalding. She is.
I have a friend from high school who played piano with her.
Are you serious?
Yes, because he's a prodigy and he's amazing. His name's
No
Charlie Brown
way.
III. Hey,
Charlie
Charlie.
Brown, nice.
Weird.
But yeah, she's incredible. She plays upright bass and she is amazing. And she's in the jazz area.
Jazz world.
The jazz world.
Yeah,
so
she's
you
pretty
know.
incredible.
But she's pretty awesome. So go check her out. Yeah.
Also a great name.
I know, right?
Esperanza.
Esperanza.
I think that's what Jake, not Jake, what's his name? Ryan Gosling named his daughter Esperanza. I was going to say Jake Gyllenhaal, but that's not the same person.
Not at all.
Annie?
Mine is Dodie. I don't know if you guys know who Dodie is.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
probably know who Dodie
Yeah.
is. Yeah. She's so adorable. Like literally all of her songs are so like sweet and like soft. Like the way that she sings, like she can sing, like she can belt, like she can sing full voice, but she doesn't. Like her songs are just so like soothing to listen to. But they're also like they have like those little like hints of electronic stuff and they're very simple, but she's very good at conveying an emotion and like putting lines and words together in a way that expresses exactly like what she's feeling without you having to think about it way too
Is
much.
she a YouTuber?
Yes.
Was she the one who did that YouTube video where she sang like one word?
Yeah,
of her?
I was gonna say, that was,
watched
like, a
the
big
other
thing this
day.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool.
One of
Okay.
the songs the first song on her EP that she just released called Human, which is really good and you should listen to. The first track, she hid all of the lyrics in note, like in their proper note for the song, in like pieces of all her videos that she
She
put
would
out
just sing
over
like a
the
single
last
word.
like in like 20 different videos.
Oh, wow.
And then
she
she
edited it
edited all together and
Oh,
made
wow.
the whole song.
That's awesome.
And she's like, nobody caught on. I mean,
Yeah, she
some
was like,
people were like,
nobody-
why was I singing
Yeah, why
that
is she
note?
singing
But like,
one word?
right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Awesome.
She's really good.
That's awesome.
I love her.
Nice. Mine is Allison Miller. She is one of my favorite drummers. She's primarily a jazz drummer as well.
Ooh.
And she's just really cool. I just remember I just stumbled across her. I think she did something for Reverb or something like that a while back. And
Sponsor us, Reverb.
yeah, what up, Reverb? Shout out Reverb.
Every
Or
podcast.
something,
them.
some
I will
kind
not let
of
it go.
online thing, and it was just kind of like an unconventional approach, to get cool sounds with drums. So she was just like doing like, this is how you can do really cool stuff with your hands on a snare drum, and just like other knickknacks and stuff that she was using to get some really cool sounds. And I was like, that's a really cool, fresh approach to kind of like, because jazz can be stuffy. And stuff. So, and she's just really good. She has several projects out there. I think the main one she does is called Boom Tick Boom.
What a name.
All right. And she's just the best. And she's got a really cool online presence. And her and her partner have a really cute kid that they post
Love
pictures of. So, so yeah, check out Allison Miller too. She just came out with a new record, or they're working on a new one. And yeah, she just kicks a whole hell of a lot of ass. So
Hell yeah,
Go
badass
team.
women.
Yeah.
All right.
right on.
I dig it.
Look
All
at
right,
that.
let's
All
give
of us
our
gave them an
let's give our plugs really quick, and then we'll say adios.
Amigos and amigas.
Yeah, Lady
Yeah.
Amigos.
Yeah.
You can find me Instagram at 3moonsgavin. That's pretty much all I do.
I also am only on Instagram. You can find me at Odd Records.
I'm Jordan C. Smitty on Instagram.
I'm Annie Larkin, but I'm private, so
You got
You can follow me if you want.
Wait, you can promote.
Oh yeah, I have music coming out pretty soon. My stage name is Margot though, so it'll be an Instagram account that I haven't made yet.
We'll have you on the podcast
Yeah,
again.
we'll have you on the podcast.
Yeah.
again.
We'll go into
But
do
it.
a
look
proper
forward
plug,
to some good
yeah.
guys. I'm biased, but
We'll do
it's
like
good
a listening. We'll do like a listening
Ooh,
party.
that'd be so cool.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Love it.
Two people listening.
Hey, it's two people.
I
Awesome.
mean, it'll be my mom and my dad.
Yeah, you guys can find us 3moonsaudio.com, 3moonsaudio on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, all the things.
Spotify playlist.
Snapchat.
We don't have a Snapchat yet, but that is
I'm
a
too old
good
for
idea.
Snapchat. I
I
can't
am going to
man.
be really honest and say we all know Snapchat is dying. Hot
She
take.
said it. So.
Hot take. That should be a segment. Audrey's hot takes.
Well, it kind of
Like,
has
we kinda
become a hot
is.
take.
Yeah.
I
Audrey's
say
hot takes.
very
It should like
Very
have
hot
like
Have its own sound
segue
effect.
music.
Yeah, its own
and it goes,
soundboard. Like hot take.
Audrey's hot takes.
Yeah.
And
I
it
did
should
put a
sizzle.
sound effect on our first one. You're like, insert ding here or whatever, and I put a little ding. So I felt proud.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for listening, guys. We'll have we'll have Annie on the podcast again soon. Don't worry.
Honorary member.
We'll continue this conversation. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Yes, and again, if you have any other views on this topic, please reach out to us. We would love to have more people on the podcast to talk about it.
Yes.
Yes.
3moonsaudio@gmail.com. That's our email. So,
In the conversation.
all right. Thanks for listening.
Bye, friends.
Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.